Right, hi guys, and welcome back to the Moaning Yorkshireman, and welcome back to the Love-Hate Relationship series. Strap yourself in for this one because this is going to be a spicy one, just you wait. This one is all about my top 5 worst performing drivers on the current 2023 grid. We've reached the halfway stage and there are 5 drivers that I personally feel need to buck their ideas up if they are to remain in Formula 1 going forward into future seasons, or just seriously need to buck their ideas up because maybe daddy's paying for them and they're still going to be in the car come 2065, even though they're still going to be shit, but they're still going to be there. But I need to slag them off anyway because they're doing me fucking head in. Answers on a postcard as to who that one could be. But yes, anyway, so if you didn't watch Tuesday's episode, Tuesday's video is all about my top 5 best drivers on the current grid at the moment, and one honourable mention as well that did deserve an honourable mention. So watch that one if you want to see who my top 5 drivers are, because you know that they're not going to be in this list as well, don't you? So yeah, I'd recommend you watch that one first, just to get my viewership up and things like that, because Stephen says recommend other things because it gets your viewer count up, and tell people to like and subscribe and drop a comment below and shit, you know. So yeah, Stephen, I'm listening to you, honey bun. Fuck it, I'm just going to lose him, aren't I? I've got my PA for YouTube at last. I'm still not fucking monetized, and Stephen will be like, look, we're going to end terms here now. You're just beyond help. And I completely agree with you, Stephen, to be honest. Also in Tuesday's episode as well, if you don't know who Stephen is, watch Tuesday's episode, because I tell you about Stephen. And also in Tuesday's episode, I do a giveaway for this marvellous McLaren t-shirt. Size XL. All you had to do was pop a comment in the comments section below on the previous video, and I will be picking one of you at random later. Now, there was a lot of entries for it. I think there was about 12 or 13, but unfortunately about 4 or 5 of you didn't want to win it because it wasn't your size, which is understandable, really. I went for, like, I think XL these days, for me personally, is like mid-range, because I'm 2XL. But in some things I can still be XL, and I was like, oh, well, XL, this one's a bit small for me, but anyway, I got it wildly wrong because it turns out all of my subscribers that are regular commenters on this channel are quite slim, so there you go. But I will pick one of you out at the end, so if you did comment in Tuesday's video, you are into this draw now. I'm just probably going to pick a comment at random. That's how I'll do it. But that's all going to come at the end of the video. So without further waffling, I'm waffling again, aren't I? Unbelievable. It's like I'm doing a mini midlife crisis before we even get going. But this is the 5 worst drivers in Formula 1 right now on the current grid. And I'm going to strap myself in for a little bit of a rantington. So I hope you are too. 5th on this list, we have Logan Sergeant. Indeed, indeedy do. Logan Sergeant in the Williams is 5th on this list. And the reason why is, I know he's a rookie. I know he deserves chances and opportunities. And he does deserve time to adapt in Formula 1 and not get binned off like Nick De Vries did do. But for me personally, Logan Sergeant has just been nowhere near his teammate Alex all this season, to be honest with you. We've seen 2 or 3 good performances from him. I'm more inclined just to say 2, to be honest. Maybe 3, but I would say 2 for definite. And the first one was round number 1 at Baku, where he finished 12th place and not far behind his teammate, although it did count as a lap down due to him getting lapped on the last lap. And he was only, what, maybe 10 seconds behind Alex at that point, fighting for the final points paying position. So he had a great debut. And then it's all just gone a bit south since. We had Saudi Arabia, or Spinny Arabia as we should call it, because that's all he was doing that race weekend. He's just not delivered any sort of spectacular results anywhere, has he? He's been firmly at the back. He's only had 1 Q2 appearance. He's been unlucky not to attempt into Q2 other times, but at the end of the day, the facts don't lie, you know. Being unlucky, you can only be unlucky so many times. He's lined up on 20th more times than I care to mention. In a car that is not the backmarker car now. I would say up to Canada, the Williams car was towards the back of the grid, but was still able to put in good performances at circuits that suited it. And then from Canada onwards, of course, with Alex Albon, let's not forget that. Alex Albon did get the updates first. But from Canada onwards, so for Logan Sergeant, it would have been Austria onwards. The updates were in place that car should have been a point scorer, if not a point scorer on the cusp of points, but we've just not seen it from Logan Sergeant at all. We've seen that 12th place finish at Bahrain, we've seen a couple of 13ths. it's not close enough, unfortunately. It's not like he's been unlucky 11, has he? Like Tsunoda has been in previous races. He's just not been there at all. He can't capitalise on penalties post-race or anything like that. He's just not in the points, and he stays outside of them. So yeah, Logan Sergeant has had a tough season so far, and that is why he has to be 5th on this list. Despite him being a rookie, his performances against Alex Albon has just not been good enough and has been wildly off the pace at times. You know, there's been some performances there where you just think Williams should have just turned up with one car. You know, he's had a difficult run. The second half of the season, I'm hoping the Williams car will be better. I think Zandvoort and Monza will be suited to the Williams car. Like Nick de Vries did at Monza last year, I think Alex Albon can certainly get himself inside that top 8 as an absolute minimum, to be honest with you. I'd be disappointed with anything less from Alex. And I think if Logan Sergeant really needs to prove his worth in Formula 1, he's got to be finishing inside the points as well. If Alex is 8th, Logan can be no less than 10th. That's my personal opinion on the matter anyway. If that Williams car has got the pace to score points into the next half of the season, then Logan needs to be scoring them just as much as Alex. So yeah, for me, 5th place on this list, it is Logan Sergeant. In 4th place, we come to Kevin Magnuson in the Haas. Yes, unfortunately, Kevin Magnuson has to be on this list because apart from 2 10th places and a couple of races where he's had some good qualifying performances, for the most part, he has been P nowhere. And I know the Haas has massive tyre degradation. I fully understand that and fully appreciate that. And that's what can lead him into having difficult races. There's no need to have poor qualifying performances. Hülkenberg has walked all over him in terms of qualifying results this season, personally. And, you know, Hülkenberg's been up there inside the points until the first round of pit stops when the tyre degradation takes hold and he naturally tumbles down the order. Kevin Magnuson, however, qualifies more often than not out in Q1, down in 18th, 17th, 19th. You know, he's well outside anywhere to be able to do anything. And even if he has a good first stint and has good race pace, he only gets himself as high as about 14th. Then the tyre degradation kicks in and he stays at the back. So, yeah, Kevin Magnuson this season, he's only scored 2 points of Haas's 11. He's not put in any performances whatsoever to me this season that really make him look like he's had a good one standout performance. He hasn't really done much at all, I'm afraid to say. Yeah, you know, he's just not delivered the goods. He's just at the back. And like I say, as much as you can put that down to the Haas car, yeah, he's ended up at the back, but he's not done anything in qualifying to even give Haas any shot of any sort of points should they have a well-timed safety car period, a well-timed red flag, so he can get a free pit stop and elevate himself up the field because he's at the back, he stays at the back. So yeah, Kevin Magnuson, and I addressed this in a Cruel Room episode a couple of episodes back where I thought that Kevin Magnuson has become very much like a Sebastian Vettel of the latter stages of his career. He's had a newly born child, of course. That's his second child. He's got a wife, you know, 2 kids. He's got a family life to look after now and a home life that he clearly cares about. And, you know, when your wife's pregnant, of course you're going to care and of course you're going to want to be there. And I think his mind this season has been on other things, and rightfully so. I don't blame him for that. And I think that's why we've not seen the usual Kevin Magnuson, because he has been tied up with life in general, you know, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I think at the end of the season, he has to hang his helmet up, I'm afraid to say, and say that, look, this second chance of Formula 1 that I was given, in fact, it was his third chance, wasn't it, that he's been given in Formula 1. He delivered some fantastic results in 2022. The car's not really been that great in 2023, so instead of focusing all his time and effort in developing the 2023 car and doing the best he can, he kind of thinks, well, I'm going to be outside the top 10 anyway, probably going to be outside the top 15 come the end of the race day, so I may as well just spend more time with my family and focus on them. That's just my assumption. I am not saying that is what Kevin Magnuson is doing. I'm still not saying he's not committed to the Haas programme, but I will think there is some sort of, you know, family life comes first, and it always has to. So yeah, Kevin Magnuson, for me personally, great guy, great personality, a likeable guy. He certainly helped Haas last season, but Hülkenberg's jumped into the car this season, still absolutely hungry for Formula 1, whereas Kevin Magnuson has jumped into the Haas and gone, well, it's not as good as last year's car, my wife's having a kid again, I've already got another child. his attention has wavered somewhat, I would say, personally. And that's not a criticism. That is just how I deem life to be. So, yeah, for me, Kevin Magnuson, 4th on this list. He's been outshone by his teammate Hülkenberg. And even though the car is finishing towards the back, it really needs to up his qualifying performances so he is able to capitalise should anything go wrong ahead. Finishing in 3rd place on this list, the 3rd worst driver currently on the Formula 1 grid. I have gone for Valtteri Bottas in the Alfa Romeo. So yes, Valtteri Bottas this season has had a very lacklustre season, hasn't it? And I personally believe that Alfa Romeo has more pace in it than what both drivers have shown. Not just what Bottas has failed to show, but also what Zhou has failed to show as well. In that Alfa Romeo car, we've seen good races from Bottas. The first race of the season at Bahrain. He's picked up another couple of points here and there as well. He's on 5 as his total at the moment. Zhou Guanyu on 4. Which you look at that and you think, okay, well, Zhou's kind of matching you in that sense. You know, it's very difficult sometimes for both teammates to be on exactly the same points, but you look at that and you think, well, Bottas, you're kind of being matched by your teammate there who's quite considerably less experienced than you and not as highly regarded or rated. And then you look at the qualifying performances. Hungary was a good qualifying performance. You think, well done, Valtteri, 7th on the grid. He's very, very decent. And then you look at Zhou Guanyu. He went and qualified 5th. So, you know, the car had pace that weekend, definitely. That was certainly an anomaly for Alfa Romeo. I'm not saying that car is that good all the time and the drivers are massively under-delivering, but I do think it needs more Q3 appearances than what we've seen this season. But for me, Valtteri Bottas has just been very meh. And he goes so under the radar that even at times I don't even know what to score him on the Cruel Room series. And I think he's a lot higher up on the table than he probably deserves to be because I've not seen anything of him and I think he's worthy of like a 6 or a 7. Even when in theory his race might have been absolutely tragic, but you just don't see anything of him. Alfa Romeo are just invisible this season for the most part, and every now and again you get to see one flash of brilliance and then the team throw it away, or the driver throws it away, and more often than not it is the driver, unfortunately. You know, Bottas's wheel-to-wheel combat has been very lacklustre, and we've not just said that for this season, it has happened last season as well. He doesn't seem to put up a great defence, he doesn't seem to put up a great attack. Perfect example of that would be Hungary at that race, of course, where he slipped to 12th in the end and was harrying the back of Alex Albon for lap after lap after lap. And we know that Williams was quick in a straight line, but that Williams car did not suit that Hungarian circuit. Both cars were eliminated in Q1. For the Williams squad, while, as mentioned, Valtteri Bottas was up there in 7th. So the pace difference was quite substantial. He still couldn't find a way around him. I don't care how slippery that Williams is in a straight line. Around the corners, that Bottas car and that Alfa Romeo should have been a lot better than what it was. And for me personally, you just saw him do a half look that never came off, and then he lost his self-time because he'd done that, jinked, pulled back into the racing line, or tried to do a half-hearted attempt looking up the inside where Alex was like, yeah, carry on, pal. And it just, there's no vigour, there's no passion there. The only passion we're seeing from Valtteri Bottas this season is once again getting his ass out on social media. And that's about the only passion we're really seeing from Valtteri. Let me show you my cheeks. Well, I'd like to see your cheeks, Valtteri, absolutely. Who wouldn't, let's be honest. But I'd like to see your cheeks when you're celebrating on the fucking podium or you're celebrating a points finish with your team inside the pit lane and you go, hey, look at this, Ted. Let's have a look at your ass. Show me your ass. There you go. You know, I'd like you to see Flash Martin Brundle and get your cheeks out that way. But I want you to get your cheeks out after you've done some bloody cheeky manoeuvres and done some great drives and put in some cracking performances. But getting your ass out, well, you're getting your ass out because your season's just been a bit shit, hasn't it? Let's be honest. So, yeah. Valtteri Bottas, 3rd on this list for me. Very lacklustre season. Very anonymous. Very anonymous. That is the word I would use for Valtteri Bottas. And, yeah, very much under-delivered for Alfa Romeo. 2nd on this list and securing 2nd place, it is Sergio Perez. It had to be, didn't it? It had to be Sergio Perez in 2nd place in the Red Bull. Seems to have recovered his season in the last couple of races. When I say recovered his season, is trying to secure 2nd in the Drivers' Championship in the best car on the grid and struggling to do so. You know, it looked at times like Alonso was going to overtake him. It's now looking like Lewis Hamilton could overtake him in that 2nd place in the Drivers' title. But yeah, Perez, he's had a difficult run, hasn't he? How many Q3 appearances did he fail to make? How many times was he eliminated in Q1? How many times was he eliminated in Q2? How many silly accidents have we had in practice and in qualifying? It's been quite a lot and a considerable amount, and I know we've always said that, oh, well, you know, we gave Pierre Gasly the benefit of the doubt back in the Red Bull days, wasn't given enough time. Alex Albon was given a little bit more time and a little bit more intuition. There was seeming to be help there, but still couldn't capitalise on what the Red Bull car could do because it was all designed around Max, and I totally get that. 2021 was an up and down season for Sergio Perez when he took Albon's place. But overall, he did a solid job. You know, he did do a solid job, did Perez, and we saw some incredible defensive drives that he put in, most notably at Abu Dhabi 2021, where he managed to hold up Lewis Hamilton for a considerable amount of time to get Max Verstappen back onto the back of him. So, yeah, you know, Sergio Perez has done an impeccable job in that respect in the 2021 season, even if it was a little bit up and down. 2022 was far more consistent, still some mistakes creeping in here and there, and in the end just missed out on second place in the title because of Charles Leclerc's pit strategy at Abu Dhabi. Without that, it would have been a Red Bull 1-2 in the race and a Red Bull 1-2 in the driver's standings. But again, Sergio Perez should have been closer. However, there were some good moments in there in that season, particularly the win at Monaco. We come to this season, the first 4 rounds of the season go really well. Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez sharing 1 and 2s, sharing fastest laps as well. And then it just all comes undone, where we have Q1 crash in Monaco, we have a Q2 elimination in Spain, we have a Q2 elimination in... Where else did we have one? To be honest, it's just too many to count, isn't it? He had a crash at Hungary in practice. He's just been doing very lacklustre. So, yeah, for me personally, Sergio Perez, with the car he's been given, I'm not expecting him to beat Max Verstappen whatsoever. But that car looks like it could be on 3 wheels and should still be finishing on the podium. And races after races, he had a string of not even finishing inside the top 6. You know, it was just a very drab affair for quite some time. So yeah, Sergio Perez, he's got one of the best cars on the grid. I'll say it's the second best car on the grid because his Max teammate, obviously it's built around him. So Sergio Perez with the second best car on the grid should be easily romping away to second in the drivers' standings and scoring a lot more points and a lot more fastest laps, a lot more podiums and a lot more pole positions overall than what he has done. So yeah, Sergio Perez very, very lacklustre. Second on this list. And then in first place, who could it be? Who could it be? Oh, I'm not quite sure. Am I wearing the right t-shirt? Oh, I don't know. Of course it is. Of course it is. It is Lance Stroll. Oh, for fuck's sake. What an absolute nightmare he is. He is just a joke. An absolute joke on the grid. I cannot believe... I mean, his dad must be looking at this now going, for fuck's sake, Lance. Like, I know I love you. I know I've paid for this team so you can be here, but could you try and just put your ideas up a little bit and not quite make us a whole laughing stock of Formula 1? He's done shite, hasn't it? The only good performance he has had this season, for me personally, Lance Stroll, has been his first race in Bahrain, where he finished that in 6th place with broken wrists. He had to do like a Kubica style that we saw in 2019 in him in the Williams, where he had to take his hand off the wheel and push it to turn it round at the first corner and at the tight bends. And he put in a magical performance and was in quite substantial pain after that race. And I just cannot believe he even got into the car. And not because I didn't like Stroll. I thought he should have took that race off. And that's no disrespect to Lance in that way. I just thought, look, you need to get yourself ready for another race. But he drove really, really well. He drove really well, apart from nearly killing Alonso at the start. But I can forgive him of that because it didn't work out that way, you know. But he drove so well. And then you think, well, hang on a minute. If this is the broken Stroll, how well is he going to do this season? And it's just not happened, has it? It's just not happened. We've had Q1 eliminations, and then after those Q1 eliminations, he can't even get himself into the points at time, or only scrapes 1 or 2 points, like Miami, for example, was outside the points even at the end. And that car had the pace to carve its way through the field, just like the Red Bull did. Not to that extent, but certainly could make more headway than Stroll did in it. He only beat Alonso once so far this season in Spain, which only came because Alonso caught up to him and then said, I'm not going to overtake him, just to give Lance a couple more brownie points over his dad. But yeah, he is just diabolical, isn't it? And I think we saw the best of him and this is my honest opinion here, we saw the best of Lance Stroll in 2020. That is the best Lance Stroll we've seen. But that Mugello incident where he had that tyre failure in that race whilst running quite well, he was never the same again. I know we had Turkey, obviously, where he scored the pole position, then the pit stop strategies, because he stopped again, didn't go his way, and he dropped down to like 9th or something. That was a cracking effort, and that was the former Lance Stroll that we'd seen in the previous block to the 2020 season. But yeah, I think that was the best we ever saw of him, and I don't know if that Mugello incident affected him more than we'll ever think he will, because that was a mighty... I mean, the car snapped in half. You know, he hit that wall at a considerable amount of pace, and I think it's just all gone wrong from there, because I can't really think of any notable performances since then, in all honesty. I mean, I know we've had a difficult car in 21 and 22, of course, with the Aston Martin team, but this year in 2023... he's got the car that can finish inside the podium. Okay, if Alonso's finishing third, then yeah, they've been bettered, but he should still be inside the top 5, you know. And this season he's just not delivered the goods at all, has he? So yeah, apart from Bahrain race 1, where I did commend him for his efforts, he's done nothing, and he is costing this Aston Martin team second in the Constructors' title. He's not offering any sort of support in terms of strategy during a race, because you've got neither Aston Martins together to split the strategies or to force another car that might be on its own. Say, for example, Hamilton in the Mercedes. He's got no rear gunner, so to speak, with George Russell. So they can mount an attack on him with both cars. One does one strategy, one tries the undercut, one tries the overcut. You can get them that way, but Stroll is just not there. He's just not delivering the goods at all. So yeah, for me personally, Lance Stroll first on this list. Before we complete this episode, I've done an honourable mention, so I would like to do a dishonourable mention on this one as well. And that dishonourable mention has to go to George Russell. It has to go to George Russell for me. I don't think he was quite as bad as what the top 5 should have been. The only driver I would have maybe replaced him with would have been Magnuson. That would be my only train of thought, and maybe give Magnuson the dishonourable mention. But that was my only thought process. But I decided to give it to Kevin over George, because we did see some good performances from George at the start of the year. George was unlucky at Australia, where he was running around in 3rd place, where his engine failed. He was running around in a position to score podiums at Silverstone, but the safety car period intervened and stopped him from doing that, and Hamilton got that instead. But apart from those 2 races, he has been very lacklustre, hasn't he? Yeah, George Russell this season has not been delivering the goods. Hungary was a real standout performance. Lewis Hamilton on pole position, George Russell down in 18th place in qualifying. You know, that was a big turning point for me personally into thinking and even considering that George should have been on this list, because he was doing bad, and he's not been doing great, but then there's been some really poor performances as well. He's sort of in that slump, you know, the slump that he had towards the end of 2022 season, where he just kept crashing into everyone and not doing a great job, apart from the anomaly of Brazil, of course, where he won the race and got a pole position as well. You know, he's in that slump, it seems. He's in that Singapore 2022 era where he just couldn't avoid hitting people and making silly errors. And that's all he's been doing this season, unfortunately, for the most part. So, yeah, for me personally, I didn't think it was quite severe enough to not put him inside the top 5. But at the same time, maybe he should have been. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts and feedback down below anyway on who you think should have been in this top 5. It'd be interesting to see who you would put inside the top 5 and give a dishonourable mention to as well. I don't think anyone's would be wildly different than mine, but then again, you just never know, do you? You never know. Right, so without further ado, before I end the video, let's get this sorted out, shall we? Let us find a winner for the t-shirts. Well, that's right. We're going to give away this Lando Norris t-shirt in extra large. So the way I've done it is there's 8 people that are up for winning it, and I put them into numbers, and we're going to go for the random number generator. There's 8 people, so I've done minimum of 1, maximum of 8, if it'll focus on there. Yes, it will. So I'm going to press that number, and then we'll find out who's won, shall we? So yeah, good luck everyone. There's 8 of you involved. There's Matthew Briggs, there is Greg Brown, You've got SHT in there, probably shit without the T. A long time commentator, it's fine, I know he is. We've got F1 Games PlayStation, Mr. Dave. We've got 8 anyway. We've got 8 people. But we'll find out who this person links to when I generate the number. So are we all ready? We have got there 1 to 8. I don't know if it ends at 8 or whatever, but let's press the generate number. Number 5. Number 5. So let me have a look at the comment section, see who number 5 belongs to. We've got loads of people in here as well that didn't want to win it despite commenting, so that makes life a little bit tricky, but I'm sure we'll work it out. So it was number 5, and number 5 goes to, it is Mr. Dave, F1 Games PlayStation. So that is 1, Terry Parks, Matthew there, 3 is Matthew Briggs, 4 is SHT, and then number 5, there he is, Mr. Dave. F1 Games PlayStation has won the t-shirts. Everyone will swear it's fixed. But yeah, there you go. Random number generator. You saw me generate the number. You saw the comments there. Number 5 for Dave. F1 Games PlayStation. Let me know your address, buddy, because I forgot it. I sent him an Easter egg once and he never bloody even entered that competition. So that's how generous I am. But well done, Dave. You've won the t-shirt. Congratulations to you. So thanks a lot for watching as always, guys. I'll see you all in a future episode. I don't know what I'm doing next week, but F1's back the week after, so it'll be then at the very least. But like I say, let me know your comments, thoughts and feedback down below. Did I score any of these drivers unfairly inside the top 5? Would you have made your top 5 list slightly different? I'd be interested to know. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and as always, much love.